And Fatboy Rob said, good run out, some decent tries, and it was good to see the women on the telly box. Hashtag Casgirls can.
um, I mean, I know you were caught up going to watch Hull in the club versus country dilemma that you were placed in by the Super League or by the Super League powers that be. So you might have got to see all of this one, but I did watch this one, and do you know the sort of disillusionment and kind of malaise, I guess, that I feel a bit around the men's game at the moment, partly influenced by my team being in a bit of a rut, partly influenced by the administration of things feeling like it's in a bit of a fucking rut. The women's game is so uplifting. It feels so positive, and all the people involved in it seem to be on the same page with the same agendas, which is great to see. And I think the main thing out of this game for me, from England's perspective, is the skills were good. When we watch the Super League, the Women's Super League games, we see the mismatches, we see the errors, and we see that some of the teams, even within their teams, have players that make quite simple errors, aren't great at catching the ball from kicks, that sort of thing. Whereas in this game, England were fairly faultless. Like, the odd knock on, but you get that from every team at every level. You know, it's not like the guys in the Origin game on Sunday weren't knocking on. So that was really encouraging for me. I thought the performance of Tara Stanley at fullback shows why, ahead of really strong competition for places in that position, she's the one that got picked. She was fantastic. There's no one in the England side that didn't stand up and sort of say, I deserve my place in the side. Even the people that I think probably were elevated into this game just because they play at St Helens rather than because they've necessarily shown good enough consistent form for that selection, still played really well. Beth Stott's got a really good range of passing. She wouldn't be my choice to be in the halves, but she's got a really good range of passing. I think Chantal Crowell and Shona Hoyle off the bench, though, were fantastic. And England have clearly adapted to playing, me and Tim talked about it a bit last week, playing powerful back rowers as front rowers. I think that's the way the game's going, as it's getting more athletic in the women's game, especially as we'll match up to the semi-professionals of the Australian and New Zealand sides. It's all good to see, and it was a really strong performance. Wales, they're just getting started, but they had some strong performers still there. Strong in terms of their effort, dedication, commitment, not necessarily execution of skill.
But, if it's come away that one girl in Grace has said, I want to play, then is that not a result, really?
And I think there'll be far more than that. I think it's exactly the example we want to be seeing. And the coverage was strong as well on Sky. It was strong coverage.
Yeah.
One thing I picked up from the coverage is Danica Prim did a nice save on John Wells calling out the wrong player when Wells doubled down on it as well. When anyone who watches the Women's Super League, and he only watches the cast games, it's very clear from what he was talking about, but anyone else who watches the Women's Super League would have known the differences between the players. Emily Rudge not wearing a scrum cap kind of threw me a bit early doors, actually, but still, this was like 25 minutes into the game and he's calling Vicky Molyneux Emily Rudge. But Danica Prim saved him by sort of suggesting there was a number swap from the team sheets. There wasn't, because I saw the team sheets.
Yeah.
But yeah, strong performance from England. They need more of this, so hopefully they'll get some more camps where maybe they get to play some probables versus possibles games, or they'll have the Origin games between Lancashire and Yorkshire to deal with, hopefully, as well, more of that they had the camps at the start of the year for that. So progress.
Yeah.
Shall we move on to a dicier result in some ways? So
yeah, so the men's match finished England 24, the Combined Nations All-Stars 26. And that 2-point difference was reflected at half-time with the Combies leading 14-12. For England, Farrell scored 2 tries, Knowles and Davies got 1 each. Stephen Ratchford kicked 4 goals. And for the Combies, Ken Sear scored 2 tries, Matautia and McGilvery both with a try, and the difference being Aidan Caesar's 5 conversions. 5 kicks anyway.
Yeah, into the fan views, and we start with David Hunter, who said, Brian Carney, quote, Sam Tompkins has driven nearly 2 hours from his base in Catalans in the south of France to get here. What kind of car does Brian Carney have? A spy car from Infector Gadget? More review to come when I've watched the game, but I just had to mention this because it made me laugh. Yeah, I picked up on that in the coverage as well, David. That was Brian's blunder for the week. He often stumbles over his words a couple of times, but we can sympathise with that, can't we, Sarah?
Yeah, but yeah, that is seriously good going to get from South France to England in 2 hours. Shall I take David Hunter's other?
Yes, you can take his proper review.
Okay, so his other one was that the Combies' first try was good, England's first was better, and then the ball burst, never seen that before. Yeah, that was a weird thing, wasn't it? I couldn't work out what was happening there. There was a clear obstruction, then they play on and England score a try. Sear with the wrestling flip, but England just couldn't defend simple, sweet plays. A poor ruling gives the Combies a try, and then finally England get their last try. Troubling signs for England is guys like Satai, Paulie are a dime a dozen in other World Cup teams like Samoa.
Yeah, but half of our pack was in Australia, wasn't it? So I'm not as worried. EFC78JU said, it was a good game, but not the result Sean Wayne wanted for his first game in charge of England. At least it was 2-point defeat, but even more better if it's a win. Their next game is now on October the 15th against Fiji before the Rugby League World Cup. My England man of the match will be definitely Liam Farrell for this game, and the rest an improving playing training, ready for the final international match in October's rugby coming home.
John Hamilton said, got to think that the first choice team will be significantly different with NRL players and Williams in, but that was poor. Easy in hindsight, but Hastings and Jerry should have played for England and maybe Connor at centre. Expected Farrell there after this season. He's still quick in the back row there. Big fan of the All-Stars concept. Hope they keep it as an invitational side and just play entertaining open rugby.
Ro Hayden said, this was a good game to bring back the internationals. Good close game.
Matt Speakman said, Combies looked the better side on paper and played pretty well. England looked okay too, but struggled without Lomax and or Williams. Tompkins looks nailed on for full back at the World Cup. Hastings played well for the Combies, but as always with these matches, the injuries become the story. Especially Bateman and Caesars. They are crucial to their Super League teams. Who knew Snake Connor could represent the West Indies?
I honestly didn't know he had Trinidadian roots.
No, nor did I.
Fat Boy Rob said, decent enough watch even with the errors. I thought Macca did alright, but Baldy Judas is not up to international standard anymore. I'm not sure he even was. I'm a bit worried that Pete is using up too many of his good games before Wembley. Despite the loss, Wayne is still the right man for the job if the World Cup goes ahead, which it won't, is what Rob says.
Tom Andrews said, England B lose to Combi B. In all seriousness, I quite enjoyed it as an exhibition. Moral vacuum screams were a highlight along with the second row walking past the world's best fullback. Great to see Mossy, Clarissa and the kids having a good time too.
Yep. Always in our shadow. So games lost all its value with the refusal to pick Saints players Roby Coote and Regan, and then for Walmsley and Lomax to toss it off. No benefit of supposed international it was supposed to be.
Neil Ormston said, poor shame by wire considering we were at home. Mainly I blame the coach. Hopefully we'll have Hill, King, Widdup and Williams back for the World Cup and he won't start with Clark on the bench or Westerman, who I thought we'd sold ahead of Philbin. And I guess we can play Matautia then too. Need to change that new kit back to primrose and blue and then we'll be all right. Hashtag it's always our World Cup.
Good one, Neil. What did you make of this one then, Sarah? It's fresh in your mind, seeing as you have watched a replay just today.
Yeah, I thought... What did I think? I thought, there were a few funny selection choices. Curry at centre, wasn't it? Which, I don't know, I'm sure there's other centres that would be better there. It felt very odd, McGillvray scoring against England and then it coming up with his little English flag next to his name. But yeah, I thought there were some nice tries scored. I thought Farrell, even though he had to break his opponent's jaw in the process, he took his try very nicely. McGillvray, his try was nice.
I mean, Jake Connor's fucking awful defensive effort, falling onto someone's feet after being stripped by a back rower. Let's call that not Liam Farrell breaking anyone's jaw.
I think
nice way to deflect from how terrible it was that he got burned by a second rower.
To be fair, I think if you look slightly further back, Matt Pryor managed to miss 2 tackles in the same play, which would have stopped the pass and then Farrell's line break.
I'm not saying there weren't other poor defensive efforts, but having said that, when you've got the ginger juice that Liam Farrell's pulling out there with that speed, no one's going to stop them.
I couldn't work out. I was watching it and I hadn't realised that that's when Connor had broken his jaw. And I couldn't work out why Farrell was doing a really weird running style suddenly. And it's because he had just caught...
It broke the attempted ankle tap, hadn't he? Yeah.
Yeah. But you know when you're like thinking, what is he doing? But I thought Tompkins was probably my England man of the match, actually. Yeah, I agree with Rob that I thought the English halfbacks were poor. I thought Hastings looked quite good.
I think the clear difference you had was Hastings playing in a team that had been part of for like a day and a half, was organising, controlling, helping the team get around the park, whereas Gale and Ratchford were separated from each other, not really communicating to each other, not putting any sort of moves on. To me, it was just Sean Wayne now knows, surely, hopefully, that he knows he gave Luke Gale his chance and he didn't take it. And obviously, Ratchford was never meant to play in that position. That's because St Helens players weren't allowed to play in this fixture.
Yeah. Yeah, I thought all in all, the combis looked quite decent, as you say, for having only played together for 3 training sessions or something.
And I think where was it that someone pulled out a really good point in the in one of the fan reviews. David Hunter pulled out about England not being able to defend simple sweep plays. I think that is the worry, that England's goal line defence wasn't organised very well out wide for what were pretty standard plays. The ones that led to the CO try, the McGillvray try, they weren't the Metaltia try. They weren't like explosive, amazing stuff. They were pretty standard plays from just players running the ball hard, playing the ball fast, executing the lines that they were supposed to for each other.
Yeah.
Which everyone runs. So that was a bit of a worry. What I would say is maybe Tompkins, Farrell and Knowles aside, no player really for England screamed, "You have to pick me for the World Cup," for that opening game in the World Cup in this match.
It is very difficult to say who you think, you've got to play.
Yeah. I don't necessarily think... I'm not saying McShane did anything wrong, but he didn't say, this shows that I should be picked ahead of Hodgson, Roby and Clark. The halfbacks we've already talked about. Ratchford, I give a pass. He's only going to be in the squad as a utility player, so that's a different kettle of fish. He shouldn't have been playing in this game at 6. But Riesling was okay, but he's only going to get selected on default of being the only one fit, maybe, it feels like, because that's why Curry played in the centre, wasn't it? No other centre was picked in the squad because Percival's injured, Gildart's not fully fit yet, Griffin's injured. Farnworth's out of favour and on the other side of the world anyway. So, and of course, Harry Newman's still not fit. So, all the other great centre options we've got were not available for this match. So we had to do something different there. But yeah, I thought Aledzki was okay, but again, he wasn't saying I'm the guy to